What is up? GoodMicWork back at ya. Payback 2016 is in the books. I'm up here as promised with your results and reaction video. I'm going to give you my opinion on the show and what I thought of it overall. I got to say right up front that I was pleased. I thought Payback was a very good show. I stayed entertained throughout the whole thing. The in-ring match quality is what saved this pay-per-view, I think, for all of us. There was some fantastic moments. We had our ups and downs. It wasn't all perfect. There was some dull moments as well, and some exciting moments and some scary moments. And we're going to get into all that. But overall, I got to give Payback a pretty solid rating. I was pleased with most of the show. I won't waste any time here. We'll jump right in to the pay-per-view results for the first-timers. Thanks for stopping by this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Check the description. It's loaded with links to all my social media and all of my other good stuff. We'll start off with the Kickoff show. We had two matches on the pre-show this time around. The first match was Dolph Ziggler taking on Baron Corbin, and Dolph Ziggler picks up the victory. I'm actually okay with this. I predicted Baron Corbin to win. I think a lot of us did. But when you think about it, that really wouldn't make too much sense. I have no doubt that at the end of this thing, Baron Corbin is going to come out on top. But Dolph Ziggler has been on the roster a long time. He's well respected, and he's a former world heavyweight champion. Losing to a guy like that is nothing to be ashamed of, despite the fact that the guy has purple hair. And you also have Extreme Rules right around the corner. And considering the violent history between the two of these guys in their feud so far, you know they're going to have some sort of a stipulation match at that pay-per-view where Corbin will no doubt get his victory. So really, for the purposes of stretching this thing out and giving Corbin more of an opportunity to work with Ziggler, that's the finish they went with, and I'm fine with it, even though I predicted it wrong. We had the United States title, of course, as we know, defended on the Kickoff show again. This is getting a little bit old, but I have to say I'm not going to complain about it too much because I'm happy with Kalisto's title run. I would like that some of his matches would take place on the main card one of these days, but in the meantime, he's held that title for a while now, and he's come out on top of feuds with Del Rio and now this one with Ryback, and he has a pretty good run, so I really can't complain too much about that. He defeated Ryback again tonight in a pretty solid match, actually, much better than I thought, better than the WrestleMania Kickoff match that they had a month ago. Kalisto got the win, and he continues to roll, and if the WWE is trying to make this guy one of their next big Mexican stars, they're definitely well on their way to doing that. As far as Ryback goes, I don't know where this leaves him. Of course, Payback was in Chicago tonight, and Ryback came out doing CM Punk's entrance, which is just awesome. Ryback, as much as I don't enjoy him, really, as a professional wrestler, he's always cracked me up. He's got an amazing sense of humor, and he's funny, and he doesn't seem like deep down he gives a fuck either. But as far as where this leaves him now, I don't know. I guess they're going to turn him heel or babyface again, or maybe put him in a tag team. Now on to the main card. We open up the show with the New Day, the fabulous, fabulous New Day, who comes out there cutting their hilarious promo. They're going to sit at ringside during the tag team #1 contender match that's going to be up first, and they're going to be sitting there eating popcorn and pizza, and they did. It was hilarious. The show was off to such a good start. Everybody was having a good time. The crowd was into it, and then, out of nowhere, Enzo takes a bad bump on the ring ropes and winds up knocking himself out and laid motionless on the ring floor. And the entire wrestling world collectively gasped because it was very scary. When I saw him fall, the very first thing I thought of was the tragedy that took place in Mexico last year with Perro Aguayo Jr., the same type of, kind of whiplash effect that it looked like he took. His head kind of snapped back, and I immediately thought of that because it sort of resembled that. And then when Enzo went tumbling outside of the ring, he just laid there, and it was like my mind went through a whole bunch of different emotions. At first I was like, oh, holy shit, he's really hurt. And then I looked at his eyes. His eyes were wide open. He's just selling it magnificently because he's awesome. And then I went back to thinking he was hurt again. But then one of the vaudevillains came over and started grabbing him. And I'm like, well, if the referee's letting him grab him, you must be okay. But then the referee immediately jumped in and stopped it. And then I'm like, okay, he is really fucking hurt. I changed my mind about 5 times in 10 seconds of whether or not it was legit or a work or not. And then finally, when you realize that it's not, and he's laying there and he's not moving much, we all got really scared. Luckily, the WWE kept showing us replays. And after I looked at it a couple of times, it became apparent to me that he probably just got his bell rung. He smacked his head really hard on the ring apron there, and I think he just kind of got knocked out. So I was a little bit relieved right there, even though I'm no doctor. To me, it did not appear that it was a neck injury, and that to me was good news. But they still had to strap him on there. And then they went to the video package, the very long video package of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens the whole time. We're all kind of shocked. It really took the wind out of our sails. The pay-per-view had started off so hot, and here we are kind of like, oh shit, now we got to pick ourselves back up and try to watch an entire pay-per-view. This was only the first match. We haven't even gotten started yet, and we got to try to get our blood pumping again. We have to try to enjoy the show. I couldn't do anything during that Zayn and Owens promo other than look at Twitter and see what people were saying and tweeting out a few thoughts on Enzo myself. We were all really, really freaked out. I mean, this is also a May pay-per-view, and we all remember what happened to Owen all those years ago. And when he got hurt in the ring, they had to break to a video package, and then you had Jim Ross explaining to people that something really fucked up had just happened. So between that and what took place in Mexico last year, I think we were all thinking the worst. But I gotta hand it to WWE. They actually did keep us informed and didn't keep us in the dark. They were giving us pretty frequent updates on him. As a matter of fact, I think as soon as they came back from that video package, or maybe it was after the Zayn-Owens match, I can't remember, but they gave an update on him and said that he was talking, he was conscious, he was moving his extremities, and they were taking him to the hospital. So right away, that was a good sign. They came back a couple of times during the show and updated us some more and said that it does not appear to be anything neck-related, but he has been diagnosed with a concussion, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I know that sounds bad to hope that somebody gets a concussion, but considering how serious the injury looked and the fact that he was carted off, and we were all thinking the fact that it could be a lot worse, especially neck or spinal related, the fact that he got a concussion is actually good news and not nearly as bad as it could have been. So get well soon, Enzo. And I gotta say, this is where I gotta give the WWE and the wrestlers there a ton of credit, because Zayn and Owens now had to come out and wrestle a match in front of a crowd. They were a little bit at a loss. The mood had changed into a more serious one with the injury and stuff, but I'll be damned if they weren't able to go out there and turn it around and have one of the best matches of the night. And it was loaded with a ton of great shit, and at the end of the day, Kevin Owens got the victory. Straight up beat Sami Zayn. And I don't think Sami Zayn is going anywhere. His rivalry with Kevin Owens is so deep that that's not something that just ends after one pay-per-view match. And they proved that tonight after the match. In one of my favorite parts of the pay-per-view, Kevin Owens is fucking legendary. He's done with the match. He just has the fight of his life against a longtime rival in Sami Zayn. And then immediately following the match, he demands that Byron Saxton come in the ring and interview him. And he is just savagely and viciously verbally attacking this guy and declares to the world that he wants his Intercontinental title back, and he's going to sit at ringside right now and do commentary during the Intercontinental title match that is up next between The Miz and Cesaro. Who says fat guys can't be in good shape? You think this guy would be winded as hell, and now he's going to go out there and talk for 20 more minutes after a match like that? But he goes right out there, puts JBL's cowboy hat on, and just starts kicking fucking ass on the mic. I would have no problem at all if the entire pay-per-view was called by Kevin Owens and nobody else. He was verbally destroying Michael Cole. He is fucking hilarious. Absolutely brilliant performance on commentary after that brilliant match that he just had. And I think I predicted a DQ or something in this match. I was expecting The Miz to keep the title, but I was also expecting his feud or rivalry with Cesaro to not be over at the same time. So instead of doing a DQ, they have Kevin Owens out there on commentary, and then out of nowhere, off the side of the screen comes Sami Zayn flying into our living rooms, attacks Kevin Owens, starts beating the shit out of him. They're brawling on the outside of the ring. They find themselves up on the ring apron. It kind of gets The Miz and Cesaro distracted. The Miz is able to roll up and pin Cesaro and retain the title, and then they're all in there brawling. So obviously, we're going to get some sort of a four-way match, probably at Extreme Rules, for the Intercontinental title. I'm fine with The Miz keeping it for right now. That act he has going on with Maurice, I think, is pretty entertaining. His character seems so over the top and obnoxious that a belt just adds to that and enhances that, so him keeping it for a little while longer is fine with me. He'll eventually drop it, and I can't wait till he does. And whether it goes to Cesaro or Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn, I don't care. I'm happy with either of those scenarios. So those were two pretty solid kick-ass matches that followed the very scary injury to Enzo, and the WWE got us right back on track. You know, when you combine those two good matches with them updating us on his condition and the fact that we were all feeling better about it, we were able to get back into pay-per-view mode here. And those two matches really, for me, helped make the pay-per-view. Jericho and Ambrose would have to go out there and try to follow that, and they would not be successful. The match was okay, but definitely nowhere near the quality of the first two matches, or the previous two matches, I should say. But as predicted, Ambrose did get the victory there, which should have happened. I don't know how much time Jericho's got left on his current deal. He seems to be in and out, so I don't know if he'll take the summer off, come back in the fall, I don't know, or if he's going to stick around indefinitely. We had Charlotte versus Natalya, of course, up next for the WWE Women's title. I was, in particular, looking forward to this match because Bret Hart was going to be in Natalya's corner, and Ric Flair, of course, would be in Charlotte's corner. Ric Flair was in the news this week. I guess he was all discombobulated in a Boston airport. Really, nobody knows what is going on. At first, there was reports that he was drunk and he was belligerent in the airport, and cops were tending to him, and they wouldn't let him board a flight. And then it was coming out that no, he wasn't drunk at all. He maybe wasn't feeling well. He's been traveling a lot. He's getting older. There was cuts on his hands or on his face or something like that. So Ric Flair's bizarre behavior continues. This guy, I don't know what his fucking problem is, but man, he's got to get his shit together. I mean, this could be completely innocent. I don't know. Maybe he just was. Maybe he's on some medicine and he had a bad reaction to it. Maybe he was fatigued, or dehydrated or something like that. Who knows? But given Ric Flair's history, I just don't know if I can believe that, and I just hope he wasn't doing something he wasn't supposed to do. But he made the pay-per-view tonight with Charlotte. He looked fine. The finish was a little bit bizarre. I was kind of hoping to see Bret Hart put Ric Flair in the sharpshooter, but I didn't want the whole match just to be built up for that moment. I mean, this match is for the women's title. They should take it seriously. And shit, I forget. I can't even remember. Was it the sharpshooter what Charlotte used to get the victory here, or was it the figure eight? I think they completely redid the Montreal Screwjob. Pretty sure it was the sharpshooter. Charles Robinson, of course, calls for the bell. He's got all that history with Ric Flair dating back to WCW, so Lil Nate screws over Natty and helps Charlotte win the women's title, or retain the women's title, I should say. I was fine with that, I guess, but it was just kind of strange, and you're wondering what the hell was that all about, and really it was just a way to set up Natalya and Bret Hart getting in the ring and beating up Charlotte and Ric Flair and putting them in dueling sharpshooters. I was really nervous that Bret was even going to be able to put this thing on. I mean, he was kind of stumbling, he was struggling a little bit there, trying to put that move on Ric Flair. I mean, these guys are very old and very, very frail these days, but Bret did get it on, and it was pretty funny. Bret had the facial expression going, and he was cinching it up as best as he could, and Flair and Charlotte were both tapping out simultaneously, so I guess that was all fun and good, but it was kind of a WTF moment. The big announcement by Vince McMahon, who was going to be running Monday Night Raw, was up next, and you just had a feeling right from the start that this was going to be a giant letdown, and it was. I didn't see any way possible for Vince just coming out there and straight up announcing who's going to run Raw. There's no way he's just going to decide between the two of them. Something has to lead to it. Something has to build to it. I was thinking they're going to have a match. I was like, well, fuck, maybe it's going to be Shane versus Triple H. Or maybe it's going to be Team Shane versus Team Stephanie, and the winner gets control of Raw or something like that at the next pay-per-view. And a lot of us were also thinking brand split. Maybe Vince is saying, okay, we're going to separate the brands. Shane, you're in charge of one. Steph, you're in charge of another. And they may very well be going in that direction because Vince announced that they will both be in charge of Monday Night Raw. That's ridiculous. I think we've already seen this. We've seen the co-GM shit before. Didn't Austin and Bischoff do it? Ironically, after the dud announcement of Vince McMahon, who incidentally was getting pelted with CM Punk chants, I mean hardcore, during his promo, but finally he was able to say everything he needed to say. And he said some pretty fucked up shit, by the way. He said he wanted to see blood, he wanted to see his children slit each other's throats, and disembowel each other. What the fuck is going on with this guy? Mr. PG, Mr. I Fine Guys for Blading, just said he wanted his children to slit each other's throats. If you ask me, this could be the beginning of an angle where Vince gets dementia, because I think he already has it. This guy, I think, is truly out of his mind, but basically what he was saying is that he wants the two to compete with each other, and he wants to see decisions being made by both of them so he can help judge who's going to eventually wind up running things. And he wants to be entertained by it. He wants to watch his children fight each other to the death. So ironically, after the announcement, Shane and Stephanie actually shake hands and agree to kind of do it and get along. So you know that won't last. There's going to be power struggles. One of them's going to want to do one thing. The other's going to want to do something else on these upcoming Raws, and that'll probably lead to some sort of a match with the control of Raw at stake, or it's going to lead to the brand split. I am actually pro-brand split. People are divided on the subject. Some people think it's a good idea, and some people think it is a horrible idea and will kill the business. So I don't know. I don't really go that far with it. I don't think a brand split would necessarily be a bad risk to take. I mean, if it doesn't work, they can just go back to the way it was. So the risk perhaps is minimal, but, you know, if they gave something like this a try to shake things up, that's what we need. I mean, hell, the ratings are in the shitter right now. The last two Monday Night Raws have had some of the lowest ratings in a while, and I think the last SmackDown did as well. And hell, so have I. You know, when WWE's ratings go down, nobody wants to come up on YouTube and hear somebody review a shitty show. So when the WWE sucks, my views go down. So WWE, get your shit together and try anything to add some spice and to stir up the wrestling world and get us excited again. Not sure why this announcement had to take place on the pay-per-view. They could have just as easily done this in the opening segment of Monday Night Raw tomorrow night, but they chose to fill up 20 minutes on a pay-per-view with this nonsense. So anyway, co-owners or co-runners of Monday Night Raw, Shane and Stephanie will be doing things together from now on, and we'll get our first taste of that tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw. Now we're on to the main event. Damn, did AJ and Roman put on a good match. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Yes, I know we didn't get the big swerve that we wanted. Roman Reigns didn't turn heel and join up with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. He didn't turn heel. He didn't form the Bullet Club. We didn't see Finn Balor. We didn't see AJ turn heel. We didn't see a title change. We didn't see a swerve of any kind. But what we did see was one hell of a match and an amazingly fun roller coaster ride. It got a little weird at the end. It immediately reminded me of SummerSlam 1996 when Shawn Michaels took on Vader in the main event, and Vader won 2 times by disqualification and by countout, and each time the match was restarted, and then finally Shawn won in the end. So this time Roman gets counted out with an amazing spot. Wow. So Roman is outside of the ring. He's leaning up. He's standing upright, but leaning against the announce table. AJ climbs to the top rope, springs off, and nails him. He almost flies downward at him with a phenomenal forearm that crashes through the announce table. Unbelievable spot and something we've never seen before. That was a very innovative way to go through a table. Even though the table was probably gimmicked, it was still pretty awesome. Easily my favorite spot of the match, and AJ is able to roll back in the ring first, and Roman is unable to, and Roman gets counted out, and AJ wins the match, but it was early. It was 20 till the hour, so we still knew we had some time left in this pay-per-view, and so I was like, well, which McMahon is going to come out? Shane or Steph's got to come out and restart this match. Shane comes out first and says, we're restarting the match, but this time there's going to be no count out. So that immediately gave away the fact that something was going to happen next, probably a disqualification, and Stephanie was going to come out there and restart the match again with no disqualification, and that's exactly what happened. What did Roman do? I think he hit AJ with an inadvertent low blow or something like that. The referee had to call for the bell, disqualify Roman Reigns, so now AJ Styles wins twice. Out comes Stephanie McMahon, announces that the match be restarted. This time it's no disqualification and no count out. So basically anything goes, and you're like, well, Gallows and Anderson should be coming out at any time. As we were waiting for them to show up, AJ and Roman put on a hell of a match. I mean, they're brawling everywhere. The work in the ring is solid. There are near falls everywhere. Some of the spots that I predicted and that I called, I knew they were going to do a phenomenal forearm Superman punch combination somehow. And AJ, as he was going for the phenomenal forearm, got nailed with a Superman punch. That was pretty cool. He kicks out of that. Gallows and Anderson finally show up and attack Roman Reigns and start kicking his ass while AJ is spent on the outside of the ring. They leave Roman Reigns in there ripe for the picking for AJ. He jumps up to nail Roman Reigns with another phenomenal forearm, and you think it's over. He's got Roman Reigns' leg hooked. The referee goes for the 1, 2, 3, and Roman puts his foot on the rope and saves himself. And after a few more exchanges and even an attempt at the Styles Clash by AJ Styles, which he almost put on Roman, Roman was able to finally nail him with the spear and get the 3 count. And just like I said in my predictions video, if we don't get all the swerves and all the things we were hoping for, but we still get a good match, I'm going to be perfectly happy with it, and I was. I was totally fine with it. I liked almost Roman Reigns' vibe. He just has that look of a heel. I don't think this is the same thing. I mean, I understand the comparisons between John Cena, but Roman Reigns is just a little bit more heel-ish, I guess, because he looked more like a heel tonight when he was facing AJ. I almost like him in that slow, methodical, kick-your-ass Brock Lesnar type of style, but then who will also bust out a high-flying move every once in a while, the way he glides over that top rope, much like The Undertaker used to do in his young days, except better. That's pretty amazing, and I really, really, really wish and hope we do get a Roman Reigns heel turn in the future, because I think he'd be a great one, especially if you start linking him back up with guys like Anderson and Gallows, maybe like Seth Rollins or a Shield reunion or something like that. Make him an ass kicker who doesn't give a fuck, and least of all, doesn't give a fuck about the fans. That's what I want to see out of Roman Reigns, but we didn't get that tonight. Roman is still Roman. He is who he is. He defied the odds tonight, even though he lost twice. He did retain the WWE title by pinning AJ Styles, and clearly now, it's obvious AJ's going to get another match. The show actually closes with a backstage shot of the McMahons, Vince, Shane, and Stephanie, talking about the rematch between AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, which will be taking place at Extreme Rules. So we already know AJ's getting a rematch, and he should. He fucking won twice. Hats off to both guys. They did a wonderful job. I mean, AJ went in there and worked with Roman and brought out the best in him. he sure as hell has earned my respect, and I hope he gets more opportunities. And still, any swerve like that, any Bullet Club formation, all that stuff can still happen. Roman and AJ are going to work again. Extreme Rules, there's going to be some sort of a gimmick or stipulation attached here. I'm hoping they don't do a cage. I don't like confining AJ to a cage. He's too good to be stuck, in a goddamn playpen like that. So hopefully, whatever gimmick they do, it'll allow the guys to work in a fun way, much like they did tonight. But at the same time, I'm sure Shane is going to want to, keep Anderson and Gallows out of this match, so they're going to have to figure out a way to do that. So who knows what the stip will be, but hopefully in 3 weeks, these two guys can have just as good a match as they did tonight. So that is basically it for me. I am out of here. I am going to click over to the WWE Network right now and check out that brand new show, Camp WWE, that a lot of people sound like they're really interested in, because apparently it's supposed to be TVMA and more for adults, and a lot of swearing and cursing and adult-oriented content. So I'm definitely going to check that out, because the WWE Network has some great shows on there. The Edge and Christian show is hilarious. I love Table for Three, and a lot of other things they do as well. And with Seth Green's involvement and how professional this whole thing is done, I'm really interested to take a look at it. It looks good. I will be up here tomorrow night live tweeting during Raw, so feel free to join me on Twitter at GoodMicWork. And I'll also be up here after Monday Night Raw is over with a review of the show, and then in a few days I will give you a Q&A. I'm a little bit behind on it, but I am working on it. I'm going to answer a relatively decent amount of questions. I read through about 200 questions, narrowed it down to about 20, and that's all I'm going to do. But they're pretty interesting ones, and I should have that up by the weekend, hopefully. So let me know what you thought of Payback. Give me your opinions on the show and where you see them going in the future, and I will catch you tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw. Until then, peace.